Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Natural Love, Assistant Director for Community Engagement with the Office for Community and Civic Engagement. Today, I'm via WebEx with Miss Jocelyn. Jocelyn, how do you pronounce your last name?
Santion.
Santion. Thank you so much, Jocelyn. I didn't want to pronounce that wrong. She is the lead outreach worker at Manos Unidas in Whiteville. She's here with us today for the Community Partner Spotlight. This initiative is a partnership with UNCP's Career Center to spotlight various community partners and the work they do within their nonprofit organizations. During today's conversation, be prepared to hear from Ms. Jocelyn about the work she does within her nonprofit, and she will also share insight about how she got involved in nonprofit work, as well as meaningful information about her organization and how we as a community can further and help support. So hello, Jocelyn, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm pretty good. How are you, Miss Natural?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. We got some rain here. I don't know how everything's looking there in your area.
Yeah, it's raining just as much.
So, Ms. Jocelyn, if you can you just introduce yourself? Just sharing who you are. Who is Jocelyn?
Yeah, so my name is Jocelyn Santion. I work for the program Manos, which is part of the North Carolina Farm Worker Health Program through the Office of Rural Health. I live in Whiteville, North Carolina, but for the last 8 years, I was in Wilmington. I moved to Wilmington to do my undergrad in 2012, and I just stayed there after my undergrad. But as I began working with Manos Unidas a couple years back, they offered me a position in Whiteville. And instead of doing the 1 hour commute every single day, I just decided it was best to just make the move. Um, so yeah, I can also, so I'm originally from Oregon, but my family moved to North Carolina early 2000s. So I basically consider myself a North Carolinian. I was raised in High Point, North Carolina. And I also come from a farm worker family, which is a little bit of the reason behind me working with this particular population through Manos Unidas.
Thank you so much for sharing. I didn't know that you were from Oregon, so that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you tell us a little bit about what has been your story of your career so far? What has been some of the work that you've done prior to your current role now? And then also, could you share a little bit about your organization?
Yeah, of course. So I actually graduated from UNCW with a degree in public health, and how I got into this type of work and with Manos Unidas was actually I started off as an intern. And I did my internship for public health with Manos Unidas. It actually was a program I had never even heard about. I didn't know about, the farm worker health program or even migrant voucher programs in any state. I kind of just signed up for this internship that was the only internship requiring to be bilingual, and I was probably one of the of my class that was bilingual. So I was like, I know no one else is going to apply, so I'm for sure going to get it. Um, and, on my first week right away, I was like, this is exactly what I was hoping to do for my career. And I didn't realize how much of an impact being from a farm worker family actually had on me throughout my life. But as soon as I started working again with this population and being involved in agriculture again, I was like, this is for sure the population I want to work with. So our program specifically aims to improve the well-being of farm workers, whether they're seasonal, migrant, or migrant H2A, which are the three different types of farm workers, and their families. Throughout North Carolina, we have different sites, but we aim to improve the well-being through community collaborations, health education, outreach, and case management are our four main kind of like top priorities. And like I mentioned, so there's three different types of farm workers. You have your seasonals, which a seasonal farm worker is someone that stays in one area and doesn't move around or migrate. And they tend to be, you know, your families. And then you have your migrant workers, which are individuals or families that will travel through the different states following the crop season. So, for example, we have workers that go typically from Florida to North Carolina and then up to New Jersey or Michigan. And then they repeat that cycle every year. Then you have your migrant H2A, which is your farm workers that come here on a special visa. And they can be here from anywhere from 6 weeks to 11 months. So, you know, we don't, our program covers all of those. And our services include referrals to medical or primary care. We also have a collaboration with ECU School of Dental Medicine, where they provide services for our farm workers for as low as $5. And then we also have I want to say a summer mobile clinic, because typically we provide that mobile clinic during our peak months, which tend to be in the summer. And that mobile clinic is completely free for the farm workers. We go to them and we provide whatever services they may need. And we do that in collaboration with Goshen Medical Center. And then we also do health evaluations, where we do a health assessment and take their blood pressure, and then we give them toiletry bags that coincide with some of the health education things we want to get into, like dental hygiene, basic hygiene. And then specifically during this time, we have been concentrating a lot on COVID education and providing COVID materials like hand sanitizer, disinfectants, face mask, as well as we're trying to get our hands on contactless forehead thermometers and pulse oximeters to provide to the farm workers, so they can either have it at their camp and have like a little kit where they can be testing themselves or keeping track of their temperature, or to families that, you know, may have a parent that's constantly working or interacting, like whether it's a factory or on the field, just so, you know, they can take those necessary steps to make sure that they're healthy and safe. And honestly, we do right now, we've been doing so much. We've taken on an extra role where we've been teaming up with different food banks throughout North Carolina that they have been supplying us every 2 weeks, restocking with food donations, and then we're making sure to deliver to farm workers. I want to say in 1 week, a couple weeks ago, we were able to deliver to 800 farm workers. So that was really, really nice. And then with that food delivery, we kind of throw in the COVID health education and then delivering the face mask and the supplies. But honestly, our job would not be able to work properly, or we would not be able to do anything we do without community collaborations and the partnerships we, you know, on a day-to-day continue to build with different agencies or resources around the community. Yeah.
And it sounds like, I mean, the services that you all are offering now, like, of course, they are needed. And that is actually one of the questions I was going to ask. So I'm just kind of like, how have you all been responding? And it sounds like you all really have taken heed and given it your all, just to ensure, you know, not only are farm workers being provided with maybe like essential items, but also that they're provided with just education about the virus and what that entails. So kudos to you all on the work that you're doing just to respond to COVID-19. Definitely trying times for our nation, for our area, but I really can say like that is essential service, and I thank you all. Kudos to you.
No, yeah, it's actually, we all understand that the farm worker population is super underserved. But now adding a pandemic on top of that, it's opened up so many things that we already knew were wrong with the system, but it's just highlighting it even more. And I think we feel that across all populations, all vulnerable populations. So, we have been working really closely with health departments and at the state level, trying to make sure that we're closing that accessibility gap as much as we can now, even more than before. So yeah, it's been a great eye-opening experience. Also great to see that even though it's an underserved population, we have organizations and we have agencies all over the state really stepping up and working with us to make sure that this population is being served. And not even that, we're aware that in North Carolina, almost 50% of the COVID cases are from Hispanic Latinx communities, which over 80% of farm workers are Latinx or Hispanic. So we're seeing those statistics really um, be more highlighted throughout this time. So yeah, I again, without the community collaborations, we would not be able to do any of the things that we're able to do right now.
So I have two questions just to kind of stem from that. I know we've been talking about like some of the services that you all have been offering during the pandemic. But is there any way, like, how can, I guess, if people wanted to volunteer for those causes, like, is that something that you all are accepting right now, just volunteers in general?
Yeah, we currently have two SAF interns. So SAF is Student Action with Farm Workers. Yeah, we have two interns who have really been helping us call patients and schedule deliveries for them. And then volunteers, I know we've been working with Episcopal Farm Worker Ministry, which is a larger nonprofit organization, and they've been coordinating with volunteers to do food distributions and COVID supply distributions. So that's kind of how we've been trying to incorporate volunteers or interns. And then we've also been collaborating with I believe their name is Mask and See or Mask and See Now or something like that, Mask Now. But there was another subgroup that or another coalition that stemmed from that's called maskforfarmworkers.org or just Mask for Farm Workers. And they have been recruiting volunteers to either get materials or distribute masks, or if they know how to sew, then to sew the mask. So that's kind of we don't our program necessarily doesn't have the capacity to help with volunteers, but we're trying to kind of guide them into these other organizations that do the same or work with the same population as us, and then we're kind of trying to take advantage of, hey, you do have the capacity to use this volunteer that reached out to us, and then in that way we're sort of using the volunteer.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you just for that insight and information. Um, and I guess too, my second question, just from our conversation about the virus and just the different effects of it and the services that you all offer. I know you said, you all thrive, community collaborations. So what would you say kind of defines that partnership? Like, what does a good partnership look like to you or to you all as an organization?
Yeah, throughout the years, it has been hard to collaborate with some agencies, especially with our specific site being so small. But I think, we've definitely learned, especially during this pandemic, that communication and aligning whether you guys have different mission and vision statement or views, but aligning them to kind of like merge your goals or expectations of each other really, really help. And I would say definitely communication and just um, even from our side, like with the health departments, we're like, hey, this is what we do. This is how we can help right now. And checking in with them like on either daily or weekly, like, hey, this is new information. Not sure if you guys had it, but wanted to share it anyways. And then when they do need us, we're available. And same thing with them. Like, I think even one of our interns just started a community newsletter, and people already started reaching out and we're like, oh my God, like I didn't know you guys were still doing this or something like that. So communication and being consistent and just making sure that your goals align in whatever form that may take.
Please add my email to you all's newsletter. I would love
Yes.
to get them. I would love to get them. I think definitely newsletters, that's been something I've been doing within our office, just kind of getting, like you said, enhancing that communication. Because I feel like a lot of community leaders, like us all, like we're all trying to find efforts, whether it's to collaborate or just to, be aware of different things that are taking places in different areas. So please, like I said, add me to that. I would love to receive y'all's newsletters.
Yeah, and I think sharing that that newsletter or just having consistent conversations with our partnerships or our collaboration has really shown that, hey, actually we're doing a lot of the same thing. Why don't we just tag team and, make it work better? And we kind of use your resources and we use our resources, and we're not having to hunt for resources on our own.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess too, I know you spoke on it a bit already, but I guess what would you say? I know there's many organizations out there who may do or may focus on similar issues or work with the same population as you all, but how do you all go about just kind of creating that partnership or that collaboration with those other organizations? I know you spoke on it a little bit as far as I think it was like the masks for farm workers, but how are there any like processes or like key things that you want to like look for as you're trying to extend that hand or that reach?
Yeah, I think it definitely takes a little bit of educating both organizations or partners, educating each other on, how each other works and then their goals. For example, with our collaboration with Mass for Farm Workers, we found out about them through other connections, and they were like, hey, actually, have you heard about this coalition that just popped up? And then it was reaching out to them and saying like, okay, this is actually what our program does, and we see you have a need to get those masks out. Because they didn't really have a way to distribute them. They had all these materials and they were doing all this, like working with different industries to make those masks, but they were like, wait, actually, we don't have the farm workers to get them to. So then it was like, okay, yeah, we don't have the capacity to make our own masks, but we do have the capacity to distribute it. And that's kind of how we've sat down and educated, and as the process goes, together, using this example again, they gave us a spreadsheet and they're like, hey, we would like to document how many masks we've been giving out, so then we can take that to whatever industry we may want to work with and show them like, hey, last month we distributed this many in these locations, and we see there's a higher need in these locations, and they're able to get what they need to continue their goal or their purpose, and then we're able to help them with that while also reaching our goal of minimizing COVID exposures in farm worker population.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And I know it sounds like you have quite a bit of experience like within the role that you're doing and like prior even for your college education. But what would you say are key qualities, I guess, to doing the type of work you do or just doing nonprofit work in general?
I think it's kind of just, not being afraid to ask questions, and if you're wrong, you're wrong, and if you don't know something, you don't know it, but you can learn. Now I feel comfortable, but when I started as an intern, it was kind of like I have no idea what I got myself into. And especially, I started off when the program was under the Pender County Health Department. So when we switched over to what now is Black River Health Services, which is the nonprofit, seeing that switch, seeing of the way like a health department, like a local health department works, and then the way a nonprofit. And honestly, prefer the nonprofit now being under it, because you kind of do get that flexibility, and it is something that you can work on to better without that having to stop at every level sort of thing. Um, and yeah, I think just educating yourself as much as you can in whatever nonprofit or whatever purpose someone that would like to start a nonprofit is yeah, education. And I my big thing is always communication and collaborating, because if you don't have these conversations, you don't know what's already around, or if someone's able to help you. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm there with you when you say, like, hey, as an intern, like, things look a little different. Like, I was not as confident or, as enthused about certain things as, now kind of doing the work, getting more involved in the work, collaborating with others on, the type of work that you do. Um, I know as we think about just like some of our students here who may have an interest in the nonprofit world, aside from just those key steps, what would you say are some key steps, or what is some insight you can give to someone maybe interested in starting a nonprofit or wanting to, take up a career in it?
Yeah, that's so funny. I was actually just talking to my coworker about that. I think, if someone is interested in starting a nonprofit or a career in it, I definitely know if you are starting a nonprofit, definitely know what your purpose is, so you can vocalize that and get, that kind of that process started. Because with nonprofits, you're going to have like a board or something that might manage it, and if you can get people to almost like believe in your goal and understand the purpose of why you're wanting this nonprofit, I think it'll flow a lot better, and you'll be able to get like-minded individuals that are going to maybe bring in all their different knowledge and resources. And I know, for example, my old director, she really wants to start a nonprofit, and that's one of the things where, the last couple of years she's really been doing her work, and what kind of nonprofit would I like to have, also what kind of individuals do I see working or running this nonprofit, and making sure that, there's not already something that's there, and if there is, kind of utilizing that to your advantage and being like, okay, this is another program that's similar. How can we add on to them, even if you're not necessarily working with them, but do you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, I think it really goes back to making sure you have a set, like yeah, a set of guidelines that you would like to follow and you would like others to help you with.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I think all of those are key and vital. And I think, the way, maybe my class that I went through when I was in high school, or even just like college with undergrad and grad school, the service experience, or like the volunteer experience, or the idea of like, what do I want to do when I graduate, it looks a lot different, when I was in school versus now. And I find that, it is who's the better person to get insight from than people who are doing the work? So I guess in so many words, like that's why I ask those things, because I know as we're, just thinking about like future leaders. And I just had a conversation with a student yesterday who expressed interest in trying to grow a nonprofit. And, like imagine that like this information could be vital for someone just kind of starting up and getting used to it. So thank you for that. Thank you for your
Yeah, and you're so right. It definitely get as much of the experience as you can, and even see both sides of it, see the nonprofit world and the for-profit world, and kind of compare and see what you like best, and if you are wanting to start a nonprofit, again, how you would like that to look. But yeah, definitely get the experience and reach out to people that maybe have been doing this or are going through it. So your nonprofit is the best you hope it is.
I guess kind of thinking more about you all and what you do within your organization. What would you say are some key issues or services or different things that you would want people to know about you all? Because I know when we had our conversation about partnership and what that looked like this was the first I heard of your organization, even after working in Whiteville for some time. But what is that thing like? What is something that you would like to tell, whether it's the viewers or anybody listening, like about your organization? How did that, I don't know, that really describes Manos Unidas in a whole as an
Um, oh God.
entity?
So, I really think, and I do this a lot when I'm like training new employees or interns. I think the main takeaway from our program that I would like others to know is that we are a health program, but it's so much more than that. Because we're dealing with the population that is very underserved in communities that are either um, that don't provide the resources, or if they do, they might not be as culturally sensitive or as accessible to everyone in the communities. So, you know, this sort of job is really more than just like, oh, I'm an outreach worker. It's kind of like, oh, well, I'm an outreach worker, a social worker, a therapist. I provide donations. If someone needs a mattress, I'm gonna go out of my way to look for a mattress for them. And also like sometimes it's like, oh, there's just a spectrum of issues within this population, and then even within the communities that, as I just mentioned, that we're kind of trying to do a little bit of everything while advocating for this population and educating the community. So I think it's just don't judge a book by its cover, because
Yes.
we're a lot more than just an outreach worker.
Yes, absolutely. You're a woman of many hats.
Yes.
And I guess I have really two questions, I guess two last questions. My first one is, what would you say is the greatest support someone meaning, whether it's UNCP campus, volunteers, community, that we could give right now, like to support you all in the efforts that you're doing?
So are you asking in general, or are you asking during this pandemic? Or
This
like
both.
both? I think the greatest support people could give right now is maybe, if you're not able to volunteer and stuff, or like we're not in a place where you might be able to reach out or something. I think just educating yourself on this population and education. I'm going to reach out and donate or something like that. So I think just really educating yourself on that this population does have a lot of issues and barriers to quality life, and then educating yourself on how the pandemic is affecting that.
And I want to say you answered my last question, but if you want to elaborate more, you're more than welcome to. My last one was just going to be like,
but also how this pandemic has been affecting them. Because I think from that education, that probably is going to bring up like different things like, oh, okay, I see this population is really has really high cases of COVID. I can donate to this mass for farm workers. Or I see that they're looking for food donations or clothes donation. I'm going to reach out and donate or something like that. So I think just really educating yourself on that this population does have a lot of issues and barriers to quality life, and then educating yourself on how the pandemic is affecting that.
and I want to say you answered my last question, but if you want to elaborate more, you're more than welcome to. My last one was just going to be like, how could someone get involved? How could someone get involved? And I know you said through volunteerism, through donations. Are there any other ways that you want to add, or any other ways that people could do?
So actually, this is probably a great way to advertise this, but we actually are hiring.
Oh,
We just approved the job description this morning, and we were going to post it on Indeed this afternoon.
awesome.
And it's for a temporary.
And I know you said through volunteerism, through donations. Are there any other ways that you want to add, or any other ways that people could do?
So actually, this is probably a great way to advertise this, but we actually are hiring.
Oh,
We just approved the job description this morning, and we were going to post it on Indeed this afternoon.
awesome.
And it's for a temporary outreach worker, but they're going to be dealing specifically with COVID. And I can share that. I actually was going to share that job description with you as soon as it got approved. So that's one way, if you guys are wanting to join our team, go ahead. But I think also, not even directly, if it's not directly working with us, I think just working with any other organization dealing specifically with COVID. And I can share that. I actually was going to share that job description with you as soon as it got approved. Um, so that's one way, if you guys are wanting to join our team, go ahead. But I think also, not even directly, if it's not directly working with us, I think just working with any other organization dealing or focusing on this population. Because, like I mentioned, we are a small program that's in limited counties, but there's so many other programs that we collaborate with, and we benefit from people collaborating or volunteering with them. So yeah.
Thank you for that. And thank you for, just sending me that over whenever we got up. I really appreciate that.
Or focusing on this population. Because, like I mentioned, we are a small program that's in limited counties, but there's so many other programs that we collaborate with, and we benefit from people collaborating or volunteering with them. So yeah.
Thank you for that. And thank you for, just sending me that over whenever we got up. I really appreciate that. Um, I know those are all the questions I have. So I actually, Ms. Jocelyn, is there anything, I don't know, do you have any lasting thoughts or just anything that you want to leave viewers or listeners with at this time?
I think if you're to students or to the professors or faculty and staff or to whoever might listen to this, just we always advocate for the farm workers, and we always say farm workers feed America and feed the world.
Those are all the questions I have. So I actually, Ms. Jocelyn, is there anything, I don't know, do you have any lasting thoughts or just anything that you want to leave viewers or listeners with at this time?
I think if you're to students or to the professors or faculty and staff or to whoever might listen to this, just we always advocate for the farm workers, and we always say farm workers feed America and feed the world. Even if it's just a little 10-minute Google search on farm workers in the United States, I think education is power, and you never know, this might be the population you want to work with um, at any sector. So yeah, and I hope everyone stays safe.
Yes, thank you. Yes, and I know we're looking forward to a conference and
Even if it's just a little 10-minute Google search on farm workers in the United States, I think education is power, and you never know, this might be the population you want to work with um, at any job sector. So yeah, and I hope everyone stays safe.
yes, thank you. Yes, and I know we're looking forward to a conference and I know as soon as you said farm workers feed America, that made me think of an idea or just kind of get your insight on some things. I would love to extend I don't know, like our partnership reach out to more local farmers because I feel like a lot of our students have expressed an interest in wanting to volunteer with them or learn ways to kind of educate themselves and be more aware. So I would love to have that conversation more. And you just give me your insight or tips or contacts, whatever it said, farm workers feed America. That made me think of an idea, or just kind of get your insight on some things. I would love to extend, I don't know, like our partnership reach out to more local farmers because I feel like a lot of our students have expressed an interest in wanting to volunteer with them or learn ways to kind of educate themselves and be more aware. So I would love to have that conversation more. And you just give me your insight or tips or contacts, whatever it is that you can share. I would highly appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. And the community would definitely benefit from
I would highly appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. And the community would definitely benefit from that.
Okay, great.
So yeah.
Sounds great to me. Well, I thank you so much just for taking the time out today, just to talk with me, anyone who's listening or watching, and just sharing your insight. I feel like these community partner spotlights, these are really something I want to continue doing like every month. Because I feel like the work that community leaders do is so impactful. Like you all are truly the ones who kind of keep the community going. I know you say it's the community around you all, but kind of speaking on an institution looking in, like it's definitely you all that really are the educators in our student experiences and are the ones out there kind of guiding them and helping them align more with their purpose just through the work that they get to do with you all. So again, I thank you all just for all that you do and have done, especially during the time of this pandemic. And I look forward to talking with you soon.
Same. Thank you, Natural, for this opportunity.
Absolutely. I hope you have a great day.
You as well. Bye.